What was your motivation to get into music? Why did you do it in the first place?
Well, I got turned on to music by discovering the Ramones. The Ramones specifically changed the way I thought about music and therefore the rest of the world. And the Ramones kind of implied for me that there was a different way to live and a different way to see the world. And I wanted to be a part of that. So within my circle of friends, had a kind of an informal Ramones appreciation. And then we started a band. And this is all in high school when I was living in Montana. And then when it came time for me to go away to college, I tried to pick a place where not only could I get a good college education, whatever, but that there would likely be an active music scene. And Chicago seemed like a big enough city that there must be an active punk scene there, even though I hadn't heard of anything. And I was thrilled when I came to Chicago and I gradually insinuated myself into the music scene here. I felt very welcomed and very comforted by being a part of it here.
Did you always have the intention of eventually switching over to engineering? How did you get into the role that you are now?
Well, none of this seemed like it was a potential career. And that's true for all of my friends and peers. None of us thought we could ever make a living with punk rock. The whole point of it was that if we all teamed up, if we all pitched in, we would get to keep doing it, you know? So everybody in the music scene found ways to participate to enable everybody else. Like one of my first associations in the music scene here was I became good friends with Jeff Pizzotti, the singer from Naked Raygun. Jeff Pizzotti lived in a group house that had a basement, and that basement was their rehearsal space for the band Naked Raygun. But by default, it became the rehearsal space for every band that Naked Raygun knew. That they would all just, you know, like there was a schedule. There was a rotating schedule of which bands were going to rehearse on which nights. And that basement was in use, you know, 24 hours a day. Bands playing in the basement of the Naked Raygun house, the Coach house. And we had another mutual friend, a woman named Gail Butensky, who was an avid photographer. And she took photos of bands that bands would use as promo photos or for single sleeves or for flyers or whatever. She also worked at a Kinko's photocopy place. And every punk band in Chicago knew Gail Butensky's work schedule because they knew that if they could come there when Gail was at the counter, they wouldn't have to pay for their flyers, or they'd pay for 20 and she'd give them 300 or whatever. I worked at a t-shirt screen printing company. And so at nights and on weekends, I could unlock the place and I could do a run of Effigies shirts or Naked Raygun shirts or whatever, you know, and that was a gratifying thing to be able to and everybody had these weird little side hustles that would help out other bands in the community, in the scene. And it was just an extension of everybody wanting to participate.
Is there a scene like that now, or is that not so much the case?
It's less adversarial now. Like in the beginning, the punk scene was a very small, very not insular, but very self-contained community. It was a group of people that all knew each other, and they were all kicking in on the same wavelength. Like we all wanted to experience a growth in this culture. We all wanted to provide an alternative to the sort of monolithic mainstream culture. And now there isn't a single underground scene. Like the underground scene at the time was a kind of an agglomeration of the petty criminal underground, the drug users, the street people, the punk rockers, the political and intellectual underground. All of these freaks sort of commingled into this punk scene that was a respite for all of them. It was a way for all of them to be their unique selves and not have to worry about being preyed on or being judged by this exterior sort of straight society, right? And now each of those individual parts of the spectrum has some sense of community for itself, whether it's, a specific group of people that live in a group home that throw house parties, or a specific musical idiom that may be fed by a million streams worldwide through the internet. There's a sense of identity and a sense of community for each of these subcultures now. Whereas at the time, the punk scene was kind of the catch-all for every weirdo that you'd ever encounter.
To me, it seems you've really emphasized how much you want to respect the artist's right as a musician to express themselves how they want to without interfering.
Almost all of my practices and ethics have come out of a very practical, or I like to think rational and reasonable approach. I have been in bands my whole life, and I would like my bands to be treated with respect in the studio. I would want to be treated with respect by the person that I was hiring to work on my record. Mm-hmm. So my default is to behave that way toward the people who've hired me. I would want my creative intent to be respected. I would want other people that I was working with not to tell me what to do, but to ask me what I would like to do. And so I just reciprocate. I just return that to anyone that I'm working with. This doesn't seem strange to me. This seems like a perfectly rational, perfectly normal way to behave. Is that, I'm being employed by a band who want to make a record of a certain type. My obligation as an employee is to help them do it.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this interview I did with Steve Albini, make sure to subscribe for more because there is a lot more to come. All the interviews on this channel are original. I'm the one conducting all of them and editing all the videos together. So if you do want to support me, in all sincerity, the best way to do so is simply to subscribe. Thanks for watching.